What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the country's state of mind post the railroad strike of 1877. I've done a video covering the railroad strike of 1877. You can go back and check it out. But basically, the railroad strike of 1877 was the first nationwide real uprising of working class people against the business executives of the railroads, and it sparked a conversation and actions both by the capital class, which was the owners of the railroads and business and commerce in general, and also the government and who the government responded to. All right, but let me give you a passage. Actually, before we do that, like button, subscribe, comments, share the video, and also in the comment section drop some ideas, things that you guys might want to talk about or want me to cover, and I would love to hear from you. Now, this passage that I'm going to read comes from the book There's Power in a Union. I was very fortunate to be gifted a couple labor books, and I'm diving into them and I'm learning more as I go. And here's an article and a perspective that I hadn't heard of before, haven't really covered before, and it was eye-opening to me, and I thought it'd be cool to bring it to you guys. So that's what we're doing. So this is a passage straight out of the book. All right, this is post the railroad worker strike of 1877, immediately following after. The upheaval of summer 1877 has always eluded easy explanation. The first labor revolt in American history to spread into a national civil disorder. It channeled not only the exasperation of the 80,000 rail workers who walked away from their jobs, but the anger and sympathy of countless other workers and the unemployed. The Republic had celebrated its centennial in July 1876, quote unquote. Historian David Burbank offers, quote, exactly a year later, the industrial working class of the nation celebrated its coming of age, unquote. There was an effort by a stunned nation to pin the disturbances on, quote unquote, communistic influences imported by foreigners. But while this charge may have been somewhat applicable to the St. Louis movement, it was an inadequate characterization overall, given the large number of participants and the inability to find any organization responsible for the strike or even a specific objective. More likely, it was simply reassuring to assume that a disturbing that so resembled a class uprising could not possibly be American in origin. As a few editorialists quipped, most of the rioters could not, if queried, have explained what a communist was. And even President Hayes poured cold water on the idea of alien influence by pointing out that the people's vengeance had been directed primarily at the railroads, not property per se. Still, the quote-unquote communist label, once affixed to working men, would prove difficult to peel off. Quote, war between labor and capital has begun in earnest, said the New Orleans Times of the summer's events. Quote, America's first experience in communism is now the most significant episode of the most extraordinary year in our political history, unquote. It is a revealing measure of how serious the threat posed by labor radicalism seemed in 1877, that a concerted response to the railroad troubles was to expand the National Guard and improve ways to coordinate its equipment and readiness. With the urging and support of leaders of commerce, northern cities undertook to build armories in concentrated urban industrial areas. For as Harper's Weekly noted, quote, the country has learned the necessity of a thorough and efficient local armed organization, unquote. Over the years, Americans have come to think of these dour, substantial buildings as historic rallying places for troops in the case of foreign threats to U.S. soil. But their original purpose was to allow the rapid deployment of the militia to keep working men in check. The book is filled with unbelievable stories of labor's history and the beginnings, and I'm only, this is from chapter 2, so I'm reading it slowly and diligently, and I'm trying to soak it all in. But you see the response. It was the strike of 1877 was a response to a proposed wage cut by a monopolistic railroad entity that had 4 owners, and they were expanding, and they were buying up everything, mines, they were buying up land. The federal government was gifting them land. There was a lot of dire times, and then they kept proposing wage cuts, and they wouldn't, safety wasn't even a thing that they concerned themselves with. And so this started as a little spark in one city, and it spread like wildfire across the railroad, because the railroad covered the entire country from west coast to east coast. And it caught on like a wildfire. It spread along the towns that were along the tracks and the hubs. And the owners deemed it, as always, they want to paint and divide and label things as un-American. And it's this appeal to our natural instinct to want to be a part of our homeland. We were born here. This is our land. This is where we're trying to be a part of. And to say, oh, these concepts are un-American, when the idea for fighting for what you believe in, the idea of overthrowing tyranny, the idea of wanting freedom is as American as it gets, right? But yeah, this book is fascinating. If you guys find interest in reading, pick up There's Power in the Union. It's an amazing book. Anyway, I hope you found it informative. Maybe it gives you a little glimpse into perspective. If we don't understand where we've been and where we come from, we're not going to know. We can't know where we're going. We should really have labor history taught in our apprenticeship. It should be required. It should be more than just a lesson about Henry Miller. We should learn about the movement that we are in, because it's nice to have pretty words in your Constitution, but if you're training electricians to just be electricians and to not know that they're a part of a movement, and to not understand the history that afforded them the ability to earn the wages that they earn and the benefits that they have, and not only to earn what they have, but to want to fulfill those objectives of reaching a higher and higher citizenship and quality of life and quality at work, you got to know where you came from, because that's going to develop where you're going and your principle for guidance in getting there. Anyway, just a thought. My name's Eric. You're watching Union Minded. And remember, the fight's not left and right. It's up and down. Always has been. It's going to take solidarity to win. Always. Each one teach one. Get out there and reach one. And there can be no union without you and I front and center. Let's get it. Peace.